Hi, and welcome to the introduction to BCCL. Hi, my name is Eric, and this is quite a special video for me because this is the first time I get to show you my new product called BCCL. Actually, it's something I have created together with my wife, and it's a tool to operate Business Central from the command line, BCCL, BC command line. And it's it grew out of the need to have some sort of way to get data quickly into BC and get data out of BC and do operations on Business Central from the command line. Back in the on-prem days, we could do a lot of stuff directly with the SQL Server and so on, but all those things are kind of gone. So I've been looking to find a tool that I could use in my daily work and couldn't really find anything that I wanted. So with COVID around and all that, we got some time and we built BCCL. So I'm very much looking forward to show it to you guys. And with that, let's switch over to a split screen. So on the left, I have a command line, and on the right, I have Business Central. And if I go into extensions here, I can see that I have installed Business Central command line. Sorry, I have installed Business Central command line. And that's one half of the product. The other half is a executable. So right on this side, if I look to see what I have here, I have an executable. So right now I'm running on Windows. I could do this demo on a Mac. I could do it on a Linux machine. So BCCL works on Windows, on Mac, and on Linux. So depending on what's your poison, then we got a client that works for you. So the idea is that we can get data into Business Central, we can get data out of Business Central, we can do things, and all initiated from the command line. But the very first version of this I gave to some trusted insiders to test out. There were nothing inside Business Central. You installed the app and that was it. We're done. But I do recognize that not everybody is as fond of the command line as I am. So we added a feature called the request builder. Just search for BCCL in here. And the idea of the request builder is to help you build the commands that you can execute. And it even tells you what the suggestion for the first 3 commands could be. And the very first one is to register the product. So when you acquire a product, you get a registration key, and you need to call BCCL -- register and the key to activate your license. After that, we need to connect the command line to the Business Central. And if we go over here and then just call BCCL without, it will tell us all the parameters, and there's a lot. The 3 that we're interested in right now is the URL for Business Central, user credential, and password. The request builder has built up a suggestion for that command, so we can actually copy that and then paste it into here. And I just need to change the password a bit because my password is not password, it's a demo1 exclamation point. So we can see that this has the -w and then the URL to a web service and a user and a password. And then there's a command, a parameter called --remember. And the idea behind this is that when I execute this command, I tell BCCL, just grab the other parameters and save them. So right now we have saved a URL, a user, and a password. So from now on, until we do a BCCL forget, then it will remember those three parameters. So if you're doing a series of calls, and that's what I have found, that quite often I want to do a long, not necessarily long, but a series of operations. And it's just nice to, okay, put this in, do your operations, then forget about it again. So now we're ready to do something, but what should we do? And the best way to show is actually, let me put this one in the middle so I'm not blocking with my big head down here in the corner. So if I go to the request builder, this page will help you design a request. So I could look and see what tasks do BCCL know. We can see that there's a bunch. So there's actually a task called get list of requests. So we could try that out as the very first thing. So we'll do this, select tasks, and we can see that now we have maybe hard to see. Let's see if I can make this even bigger. No, because then it goes away. We can see down here that BCCL space -t and tasks, and it's green. So green means that this is a valid combination of parameters. So let me move this aside and then see BCCL-t tasks, and I get a set of data back, just type on the screen, and the data I get back is in JSON format, which is the native language of BCCL. So the idea is that you should be able to, from other programs, read all the output that comes. Oh, this is an error. Then right now it just throws the error. So we can see that there's a task called get data. We probably already saw that in the request builder. So I could go in here and say, okay, I just need to restart the request builder here. I can go do get data. So get data, we can see now the command here is red because this is not a valid command. So if I go back here and do BCCL-t get data, get date, that's even worse. There's nothing that's called get date, but get data, then an error has occurred. Setting table is missing. Use -s table equal number. So user friendly, right? Because if we need to get some data, then we need to tell what table we want. And we can just do table 3, payment terms. So now we can see that we got more information here. So -s table equal to 3. And that just happened to be what the error message was saying. So I can grab this one again, paste it out here, and I get all the payment terms. As you can see, right now I just get it on screen, which is perhaps a little bit annoying. So I could do an -o for output and pterm.json. And it executed that, ended, and I get a JSON file with all my payments terms here. But maybe you're saying, oh, Eric, I know JSON is what all the young kids want, but I'm kind of a CSV gal. So how about doing CSV? And of course. So just by changing the name or the extension. So in this case, we'll say pterm.csv. And we'll look at that. And now we have let's remove the word, we have a comma separated file. There's the header and with all the records in payment terms. But then you may ask, oh, but Eric, I do not want all of them. I only want something with 30 or 60 perhaps in it. So, okay. So now we can add another, and let me just actually show you this. So let's go back in here. Create a new request. So we'll still want to get data, and we still want to use table 3, payment terms. But now we want to add a view. And what is a view? A view is a set of filters. So in this case, let's do that the code should be something with star days. How about that? And what we can see now is that we're getting a table view string. So we're specifying a sorting and we're specifying the filters. And we could do an output file called sumpt.csv. The type of the file can either be determined from the file name, or you can go in specifically and tell I want, and these are the 4 file types that BCCL supports. So JSON, we already saw that. CSV, we also already saw that. XML and Excel. In this version, Excel is only for reading files, not for outputting, because you output to CSV file and that reads just fine into Excel, and the same with JSON and XML. If we leave it blank, it will just figure out what format you want from the file name. But if we call this one txt, then we would actually get JSON, because that's the default if we don't tell it. So we would have to tell I want CSV. So now this has become a slightly longer command. So we can, oops, if I can. So now BCCL-T for get data, table is 3, view is all these things, and we want to output in sumpt.txt, and we want the format to be CSV. I execute that, and we have now a lesser list of, there we go, of payment terms that all has days in it. And if for some reason, but we want it in XML, so now we're actually putting into the same file. So now the txt file here has the same thing as XML. Okay. So that's the first level of get data. So we can very quickly get any piece of data, and it's important to say that there's no limitation in what tables and what fields you can get. On the request builder, we can see that we have something called the default parameters, and one of the default parameters is not include binary fields, blobs and media fields, because they're just annoying in most cases. But if you include them, BCCL supports them, and since this is either JSON or XML or CSV, then it has to be base 64 MIME encoded for the content. We can also see that there's a setting for the CSV file that the default delimiter is a comma, but you could change this to \t, and then it's actually a tab separated file, a TSV file, if that's your thing. But in some cases, you might not want all those fields. So with that, you have to use let me run the request builder again. Let's do a new one. So now we'll go and grab get data, and let's grab table 18. And now we can see that the request builder tells us that there's 181 fields in the customer table. And perhaps I don't want all that. So what I can do is actually, and the concept in BCCL language is called a mapping file. So some customers, CSV. So I can go in here and then I can figure out what fields do I actually want. So maybe I want a simple file. So the columns I want is number, name, address, city, and phone number. So there are 5 fields here. So we can see that now we have 5 fields and we have a customer mapping JSON. So I can either go in here and come on, just scroll up. So there's so many fields in the customer table, and export that as a mapping file. And that opened on another screen. Let's get this onto. So I'll just I'll just go back to this one, and then I'll create a customer mapping file here. Actually, I think I have one for later, so I will do demo mapping. JSON, yes, and this will give me a not very nice formatted JSON file right now. I'll just do that here. So it tells me that I have I have those 5 fields in the mapping. So if I save this, and you can see if I do BCCL -t get data and tell that I want table 18 and I want this in demo CSV. Then I get all the fields, right? But if I do this again, and then I tell that I want the demo mapping as the mapping file. So now I have applied a mapping file saying that the map between what we have in Business Central and what we want are those 5 columns. So I run this again, I have to close this down, and then suddenly my comma separated field table here is only those 5 fields. So, and this is all the getting data out of Business Central. So we can get all the data, we can get all records, all fields, we can get some records, all fields, we can get some records with some fields, and we can get it into CSV, to XML, to JSON. But this also works the other way around. So let me close this one and then go in and look at, see if I can do this in a meaningful way. So these are my customers. Come on. These are my customers. I got those 5. And so I prepared a small file before we started here. So customer CSV. So you can see that there are 2 customers. And I also created a customers mapping file. So we can see that right now I have 4 columns. The first column is called number. Second in name, the third is called zip, and the last one is called post group. And we can see here in the mapping file that I have defined that there are four columns, and the first one is called number. You see the map name is number, the map name is name, map name is zip, and the map name is post group. So those are the four columns in my file. I have then told that these four columns are mapped to field number 1, number, 2, name, 91 postcode, and 21 customer posting group. I have even added down here a extra command saying create related stop true, meaning that if the customer posting group that's in my file don't exist in the related table, please create it so you don't break my import. Also, I have told that it should validate all fields. No, sorry, it should not validate postcode. It should validate name and number, and it should validate the post group. And it should validate, so the insert is also true, insert true. And if there's a modifier involved, it should not modify true. It should do modify false. So with those, I can now do BCCL T put data, and my input file is customer CSV, my mapping file is customer mapping JSON. This goes into table 18. Execute that, and I get a little JSON back saying that table 18 we have inserted 2 records, we have modified zeros, and by the way, in table 92, we have also inserted 2 records. So if I refresh Business Central, we can see that we got 2 new customers here. And let's look at, actually, no, let's not look at, oh, okay. Let's look at it, but let's open the page inspector here. And we can see that the search name, the very strange field called search name, has a value because we told the import to actually validate the name field. So this one is inserted as if it was typed, apart from the postcode, because I didn't want to trigger that. We can also see that the customer posting group is GRP1. And if I go back here and look at my customer posting groups, I can see that those 2 groups have been created because they were in the file, and instead of breaking the imports, then just please BCCL just create stop records for me. There are other features inside the mapping file that's interesting. We can also handle and translate dimensions to columns. So translate dimension sets to columns, meaning that if you're importing sales orders, then on the sales header, there's just a dimension set ID field. But we can actually in the mapping file specify that this column is actually the value for this specific dimension, and then BCCL will make sure that the dimension set ID gets created and maintained correctly. So you can import transactions with dimensions, and you also export them again with BCCL. Another thing that this was actually some of the beta testers who said, "Hey Eric, that's great. Can we please delete it again?" So, and that's a great request, because sometimes when you're working with data and you import 1,000 records, and you need to delete 1,000 records again. So how do you do that? And in this case, I'll grab this exact same commando as I just did. Let's go back to customers and see what we have. So we have right now all the customers here, all the standard plus the 2 we added. So if I change the command simply from put data to delete data, I run this again. It tells me that, okay, I have deleted 2 records from table 18. So I go over to the BC side, I refresh, they're gone. So now we have actually bulk deleted something. Carry on. So let me show you one more thing. So let's go into that customers mapping file, and then let's remove the first field. So now we're telling it that we are only interested in 3 columns. So now, even though there are 4 columns in the file, we are actually only interested in 3 of them: the name, postcode, and customer group. So I will save this. Then I'll run the import again. So the exact same commando. And it tells me that it has inserted 2. No stop records this time because they're already there. So I go here and then I refresh in BC. And now you see I get the same 2 customers, but in this case I get them numbered from the number series, because we removed the mapping from the mapping of the customer number field. And the way the customer table works is that if you try to insert a record, then if the customer number blank, then we'll go out and grab the number from the number series. So what we did here was simply exclude the number from the mapping, and even though it's in the file, we just took it out of the mapping. And the way that BCCL inserts data, there was actually 2 ways, and we can see it in the request builder. So BCCL will by default always do it the proper way, meaning fill out all the primary key fields it can fill out if it has columns for it, insert the record, then fill out the rest of the columns and modify the record. So the same pattern as if you typed it. You can turn on the use delayed insert pattern, and I have to tell BCCL that I'm in a put data situation, otherwise I'm not allowed to turn it on here. But the delayed insert pattern is that you fill out the entire record and then you insert. So in case of if you want to move everything from A to B, so you grab data out of one BC and want to pop it into another one, you would create a mapping file with false in all the validation fields, as we just saw. If you go into this one, all the validates should then be false, and then you just do a delayed insert. So you raw copy data from one BC to another one. This works on all tables, but transactional tables that has auto increment, because auto increment is kind of preventing that. So you still have to obey the mystics of the auto increment. I'm just gonna mention a couple of other options here at the end. Just want to list them here so we can write it up there. Let's see. So we have looked at delete and get and mapping. So there's also a function called mass update. And what does mass update mean? Mass update is in reality a search and replace function, meaning that let's say that you have 1,000 customers and you need to change the posting group on them. There's no control H. There's really no great way of doing that from within Business Central. You could go out to Excel and do it there. A lot of people are trying that. With BCCL, what you would do is that you would create a mapping file with just the the customer number and the value, and then you would create a, sorry, I'm pointing to this. Well, you would create a file with just one record saying that this is the posting group I want. The data file, just one record, and a mapping file that points to that, and then set a view. So you would filter on that specific set of records, and then that would change everything. You could also just export all the data out, or just those two columns, the number and the posting group column, change it and then import it again, and they will just modify that single column. So very convenient for mass updating, hence the name. We also have options for posting sales and purchase documents, and we have a run a code unit, meaning that if you created a code unit of something that you need to be done, need to have run during a process, you can just ask BCCL to run the code unit for you. Then there's some search function. So if you're really just working outside Business Central and you need to figure out what is the table number of the vendor table, then you could go and ask for the tables, and then ask to give it a name. Sorry, that's -s, a name equal vendor, and we will get back that the vendor is table number 23. So lots of great options. Actually, the last one I forgot to let me show you that. So let's say we have an Excel file, and I think I prepared an Excel file here. So I have customers.xlss. Let's open that for a second. I think it's open on the wrong screen, but we can handle that. So here is a bunch of customers. So the first one, 4 columns: number, name, number, company, city, and a zip code. So I have created a mapping file for that. Again, 4 columns: number, name, city, postcode. In this case, the map name is the column name in the Excel sheet, so A, B, C, D. So what I can do now, let's close this one and go back to this one. So I can go BCCL T, put data, and this is table 18. And the input file is my, what was customers there. The mapping file is the Excel file. And then I need to tell 2 things about the Excel file. So first I need to tell about let me actually just open Excel again. So Excel is kind of weird. I cannot import something. That was not it. Let me see if I can find the right one. That's another one. So Excel is weird because you cannot import a file that's open. So we can see that in this case we have 3 different sheets inside Excel. So we need to tell what sheet it is. Let's just keep this open, and then I'll remember to close it just before we start running it. So BCCL T, put data, and this is going into table 18. The input file is customers.xls. The mapping file is the Excel mapping file. And then the sheet. So X will tell you that it's a customer called sheet, and Y is the range of cells. So in this case, I want to go from A2. So we're completely ignoring the title has no effect in here. So we're going to go from A2, then 2 dots, because colons is always problematic in command line. So we're going to go to D22, or let's do a bit less so it can be on screen. So we'll go to D11. And now I forgot. So cannot open Excel file. Is the file already open Excel? Yes, it is. So let me do this again. So we inserted 10 records. So the idea behind this way of doing is that we should be able to have any Excel sheet as long as the data is tabulated and as long as the tabulation is in such a way that we can just tell what columns are we need to use. Then we can just read any Excel sheet. So there are 3 ways you can get BCCL. Everything starts on the Hogart.com website /BCCL. Tons of documentation and examples, but we have 3 different licenses. One is we call the educational license. So this is a free license. It can do anything you have seen here, and you can see this is actually the license I've been running all evening. There's a warning at the end of every call saying, hey, this is the BCCL version only for testing and educational purposes, meaning that you can learn it, you can try it out, you can play around with it, but this is not for production data. If you want to use it for production data, there's either a commercial license that gives you the right to use BCCL against one Business Central, either cloud or on-prem, or there is the enterprise/partner version that gives. Typically, this is designed for a Business Central partner that gives all your employees license to use it on your customers, not for your customers to use it. They still would need a commercial license if they would use it themselves. But if you, as a partner, have the partner license, then everybody who's employed with the partner can use it on their customers and when onboarding new customers and migrating and all that. So those are the 3 different licenses, and you can get it now from the Hogart.com/BCCL website. And I hope you'll try it out. I have had a lot of fun creating this, and actually some of the videos on the channel has been based on all the XML and JSON and stuff like that. It has been triggered by some of the things that I have done in BCCL. And there's a lot of stuff we haven't covered. I think I'm going to do a couple more videos with some more details. BCCL can do paging, so if you have gigabytes of data, it will actually still process it very, very fast. And lots of different interesting technical pieces. I think the next thing I'm going to do is do a video at some point on how to create an extension, so how to put your own functionality into BCCL. Until then, have a go at it. Please try it out. I had a lot of fun creating it, and I hope you'll have a lot of fun using it. Take care.